Today, October 7th, 2021, class number 269, realized consciousness. And since my brother decided that he got so much joy going on, and he wanted to cut up that, hey, I'm going to give him something that he's already seen it, but you guys haven't heard it yet. And it is the post that I did for the day. Started out, remember the classes, realized consciousness. Matthew 7, verse 14, Aramaic translation. Enter in through the narrow door, for wide is the door and broad is the road which carries to destruction, and many are those who travel on it. And oh, how narrow is the door and how difficult is the road which carries to life, and few are those who are found on it. Think about that. A whole lot of people are on that door, on that road. They've gone through that door that leads to destruction. And the more people see other people going through that door, for some strange reason, they just keep following and going through that same door that leads to destruction. That is, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to make it on my own. And they keep, there's just so many people on that door. I think about it on that path. I think about it all the time, how many people turn away from that narrow door which leads to life because it just appears to be too difficult. Then we go to Psalm 16 and 11 in the Aramaic, Lamb's translation. Thou wilt show me the path of life, and I shall be filled with the joy of thy countenance, with the pleasure of victory of thy right hand. In other words, I know it appears to be difficult. It appears to be basically impossible. Well, it is for man, but for God, all things are possible. God says, I will show you this path, and I, after seeing it, will be filled with the joy of thy countenance, with the pleasure of victory of thy right hand. So God has shown us that path. And it is the absolute opposite, if there is such a thing, of that wide road. It always looks like something is going to be the thing that you're looking for, yet it turns to be a slippery slope, and everybody just keeps going in that same door. And I just have never been able to understand it, except for the fact that the other door is just really difficult. Jesus says, my sheep hear my voice, and they know me and obey me. They will not follow the voice of a stranger. The stranger is saying, here's the door. Here's the road. This is it. And you go down that big wide road, and you just keep, all it's just filled with nothing but hurt. Always trying to overcome, always trying to attain, always trying to figure out, always trying to work it out. And yet it just never seems to be complete. And in Revelations 3 and 8, we find, I know your works. And behold, I have set before you an open door, which no man can lock. For you have but little strength, and yet you have obeyed my word, and have not denied my name. Isn't that wonderful? So many days. This morning I woke up, and I felt like I just a little strength. I'm going to keep on walking. This door, wow. I don't have to look for it because I have already been shown this door. I am the door. And then I added, in the voice of my brother Kenny, listening and hearing. Or you could turn it around and go hearing and listening. However you want to feel it, that is the truth, because I have shown you the narrow door. That door is who you are. And you won't follow the voice of a stranger. You will not follow that voice that's leading to a wide door. Remember, we walking by faith and not by sight. And I woke up this morning, I felt like I had little strength. And I felt like that because it seemed like all night I had the same dream. In him we live, in him we move, in him we have our being. That was another indication of realized consciousness. You know the answer. You understand the answer. And yet all of this stuff keeps getting hurled at you, banging at you, hitting at you. That big wide door. Man, all you got to do is, worship me and I'll give you the kingdoms of this world. Yet Jesus says, my kingdom is not of this world. I'll show you how to do this. Nope. I'm just going to hold my ground. Yet you just feel like falling apart and just saying, I'm never going to get this. And it's like, you have this. Why doesn't it look like it? Walk by faith and not by sight. You have to keep looking at what it is that's not appearing in front of your face. See, in all that get an understanding. And mind is the substance. Mind is the understanding. And when you understand, you know. Or you can flip that around if you want to. When you know, you understand. They're both the same thing. Mind, the mind of Christ, is a realized consciousness that no matter what is being hurled at me from an appearance standpoint, I have already overcome it. It's just that patience of waiting. Watch this now carefully. Waiting for the feeling of the presence, for the knowing and understanding of the presence of God, for knowing that God is all. And when that feeling comes on you, that it may not be an emotional feeling, a burning, or it may not be any of it. It's just this little click thing that happens within you that lets you know, this is it. I have this. It's like the story I posted on Facebook a couple of days ago. Because I have to puree most of Cynthia's food, I wanted to make this stew, which I use progressive soups. They're the gumbo soups and Manhattan clam chowder, and I mix them together, put shrimp in it, put turkey sausage in it, and what have you. But it's difficult for me to get her sometimes to eat stuff that has a kind of a stiff texture like shrimp. But I mean, puree and shrimp, that just doesn't make any sense to me because now you have nothing. The flavor basically goes away almost. And so I said, I know, I'll run down to the store and I'll grab some of that crab meat in the can, Phillips. I get down there, and the small can they have is like $15. And then the next size up is like it's like $25. And I said, man, this is ridiculous. And it's in a can. So I know I'll just get this stuff called imitation crab meat. It'll still at least have somewhat of a flavor of the crab, and we'll just move on. So I got it and dismissed it. Okay, now I can go in and make this stuff and forget about it. I can make my little stew, and it'll be fine. But I knew and understood that once you close a thing out in your mind and you know that you have it, and that little click thing happens, the little presence, you feel it, okay, it's like it's lifted, I'm done. I can go in and make this stuff. Lo and behold, after I get home, about a couple of hours later, I get a call from Cynthia's cousin, Orlando. And he says, hey, Mike, look, I'm kind of close by. I thought I'd just stop by, man, just sit with you for a while and we'll just kind of, chill. I said, okay. He came by and we were sitting there kicking it for a while, talking and what have you. And then he said, oh, by the way, man, I bought a bushel of crabs that I'm going to my brother's house tomorrow, and we're going to be having a little crab feast. I was thinking, man, do you want some? And I was like, wow. You know, I closed it out in my mind. I'd forgotten about it. And now here comes real crab. And I say to myself, it's not that I got the crabs, it's the process. It's the understanding. It's the knowing that once you click it out of your mind and say, this is done, and then you're done and you're not thinking about it anymore, in an hour that you think not, the sun returns. The manifestation in the physical, in the visible. Let's say it that way, because I don't really think anymore about things being physical. I think about them being visible, appearances, and the harmony shuts in. That harmony is always sitting there waiting for you to quit thinking about how you're going to get something or where it's going to come from or if you're going to get it. You already have it. It's just, are you going to express it? Yes, because you are going to let go of thinking about how you're going to do it. That's that narrow path that I started out talking about. It's very narrow to quit thinking about what it is that you're trying to do. It's very easy. Wide is that road to just keep on thinking about how you're going to do it and just keep looking for where it's going to come from. That's a very wide path. And many go in that door. And it's always desire, want, keeping on looking for it, trying to get it. And that's just destructive because the mind never settles down and gets at peace as long as it's sitting around trying to think about how it's going to do something or whether it's going to get it or not. When you understand, you know. Or when you know, you understand. You understand what? You are the I. I am the substance. I know that which I seek, I am. If we start out thinking that way, that which I seek, I don't care what it is. It could be something really, really small, or it could be something that seems to be overwhelming. All I'm ever seeking is the kingdom of God. All I'm ever seeking is the wise counsel, that word that comes from God. And you don't determine where it's going to come from. You just already know you are it. And that word comes and the earth melts. That word comes. You can find it in a book. You can find it in your head. It's your voice. The voice of a stranger you're not going to follow. Who is the stranger? That's telling you that you need to do something. Well, the only thing you need to do is close it out in your mind and know, I understand this. I understand that I am that which I am seeking. Then over in Isaiah it says, all shall know me. Now, God is not a man that he should lie, nor the son of man that he should change. God does not send you on a wild goose chase. My mother used to always say, when God is in it, it just goes right on. It's just smooth. It just goes right on. And all you have to understand, God is in this, and I am one with God, so therefore I am in this, so that I am this. But it's just really difficult to let go. It's difficult. That door is who you are, but that path is very narrow. And you don't find a whole lot of people on the path of, I'm just going to let go. They say, well, you're just going to throw caution to the wind? No. I'm realizing that I don't need to be cautious. I need to understand that identity is the key to everything. Realized consciousness. That's what I am. I don't have to go out and try to develop a consciousness. I already am that. I came there with it. My problem is Michael Orr. That's the only problem that keeps blaring up in my face. That is the problem. All shall know me. When God says all shall know me, that means all know me. God, whom I am one with. That which I know, I express. I express what? Love, joy, peace, faith. Wow, faith. Faith works by love. And that love expresses hope. I quote this often. Therefore, being justified by faith, Romans 5, we have peace with God. When you know that you understand how this works and you choose to know that it has worked already, the Father within doeth the works, when you know that, you understand that, for some reason you are able to quit expecting the Father to do the works and to know that the Father has already done the works. It's like I shared with Kenny on a text last night. I just said, it's like you've entered into a room and it's filled with surprises. All of the surprises are good. They're just pearls. And what you're doing is uncovering each pearl by knowing I'm in a room filled with pearls. Now, anything in there that's of an evil nature, anything in there that's dark, Michael brought that in there. Michael brought that in there being cautious, fearful, doubtful, wondering. But I am all there is. I am those pearls. I am uncovering, unveiling that which I am. What do I know? God is all. There's no such thing as God and. There's not God and all this other stuff. This morning I found myself saying, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. And you look out here and you say, well, this must not be the world that God created or that God is. That's a better way. This cannot be the world that God is because there's too much darkness. There's too much apparent evil. There's too much going on that does not fit with what the prophets, those spiritual people who call them, who David, kings, prophets, spiritual advisors, disciples, people who walk with Jesus, people who believed it. How do I see the world that they saw? Look at your consciousness. If you are aware of it, that's it. Look at your consciousness. In him we live, in him we move, in him we have our being. That's very narrow. But keep looking at that. Keep looking at it. Quit wondering when God is going to come through on your behalf. God has already come through, and the day that it clicks in you that God is all, then you know God is not dealing with the evils, the uglies, the hurts, the pains, the suffering. I read something the other night. Do you ever wonder why God doesn't really heal me totally? Do you ever wonder why God does not resolve my problems and what have you? Why God appears to not even be listening or looking at what I'm going through? And then right behind it, you hear a little voice say, depart from me, workers of iniquity. I never knew you. What does that mean? I can't know, being God, I can't know suffering and evil and all of that. All I can know is that which I am, which you are. You are not going through evil and ugly and all of this that makes up that wide road of destruction. You're not going through that. You are laying down this persona, this personality person, this person who appears to be going through it. Michael, you're laying that down to be who you are. Appearances are never the truth. God is all. Even though an evil or discordant or inharmonious, things that appear to be inharmonious, they appear to change to something from not having crab meat to having real crab meat. These things, that means that you always had what it was you were looking for. You just were able to stop Michael from thinking, I don't have, to stop Michael from thinking, how are you going to do this, to stop Michael from thinking, how am I going to heal this, and you're laying that down. And then when you pick it back up, he's silent. He's quiet. And now you're listening and you're hearing. You're hearing your voice, the voice of revelation, the voice called the Son of God. You are listening. There are no people outside of God. Just go back and look at Genesis 1. And then look at Genesis 2 immediately. And you will realize Genesis 2 is a very false creation coming out of what appears to be a carnal man. And the reason I say that is because, as I've said before, in Genesis 2, you got good and evil. You got the animals have no names. You have the man who has no partner, no soulmate. You got two different people. In Genesis 1, you just have one, male and female. In Genesis 2, two different people. And you look around you, and you always have two different people. I don't care who they are, family, friends, associates, so-called enemies, I don't care who they are. They're never just one. There's always two. There's always another opinion. There's always something else that's different from how you appear to be going. That's Genesis 2. And this whole world appears to be made up of Genesis 2. And you wake up and you say, well, God, let me see the world that you own. And you hear a voice behind you saying, you see it. You know me. Yourself. There's only one self. So why am I always focused on this tree of the knowledge of good and evil? And you hear a voice say, you're not. You're not focused on that. Who you are is who I am. Identity is the key to all of this. Genesis 1, John 1. The Word becomes flesh. The Word becomes visible. The Word becomes this presence, this click, this feeling of, I don't have to create anything. I don't have to come up with anything. I don't have to do anything. It's all been given to me by grace. Who am I? We have to know this. We have to know this. I want to share with you something from Lillian DeWater, this little book called Who Am I? And it is the chapter, The One All. There is but one God, one life, one being, one I am. There is but one body, one world, one experience. The one is the real, the perfect, and the eternal. You notice there's no opposite. There cannot be I reality and I unreality, I perfection and I imperfection, I life immortal and I life material. Truly, the I reality, I perfection, I all is the only I that I am. Reader, ask yourself, do I consider myself this I or not? From morning till night, one says I. With what I is he identifying? With I wholeness, harmony, or I sickness and limitation? With I creator or I creation? That's a good one. I creator or I creation? I know she wrote that because she's saying creation is something that always changes, but the creator is always the same, I. Do I identify with I, divine consciousness, or I, mentality? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not identify thyself falsely or with the entity called man. See, that man in Genesis 2, that man, trouble. All it takes is judge something good or something evil, and you got trouble. That's that man. Thou shalt not believe thou art other than I, the one and only selfhood. And I conclude with, since there is but one I, one life or being, then for you to be at all, you must be this and none else. You can't be anything other than this I, the I that is all. That is all you can ever be, and it's just difficult, narrow. This door of realized consciousness, it is so narrow, so difficult. Why? Because everything else, this tree, this world is a tree of knowledge of good and evil. And the one that we ought to be looking at is behind a veil. Paul said we're looking through a glass darkly. There's only one way. I am the way. But for some reason, in the midst of turmoil or evil-looking appearances, there comes this temptation to judge, to do something about something that's blatantly blaring in your face. And for some reason, it just, you're in the middle of it when it comes to you. I am I. I am I. I am all. I am the one. I am all good. God. You see, when we know this, what we know, we act out. We start acting like I. That means I have allowed Michael to shut up and be quiet. I have entered, that's not a good word for me. I have realized, that's better. I realize that I am the silence. I have silenced these thoughts, and now I am acting out. I am acting like what? Everything is all right. Because everything is always all right. There's no time that things are not all right. What we know, we act out. We act as though I am and I shall be. As I act out who I am, act like just like I am this, then I realize I am this. I shall be. It all begins with thinking. I think that I am. That's the channel. That's the path. And then it appears that I know God because God says, I know God. All shall know me. Here's one of the most powerful statements. You will never become what you already are. You cannot become what you are. You can only be what you are, whether it looks like it or not. That's narrow. But it's realized consciousness. You find yourself acting out. I don't know about you, but I find myself, this little self, this little I, this little Michael Orr guy, acting out because he has some preconditioned idea in his head of how something is going to work out. He does not have in his head this is already worked out. So he needs to be silenced. I am that which is already worked out. No wonder Jesus could say, before Abraham was, I am. No wonder he could say, before the foundations of the world, I am. No wonder Abraham could sit there and listen and hear, walk perfect before me. God is no respecter of persons. God has said to all of us, walk perfect before me. Why? Because we are perfect. We are this I. And I is unconditioned. Heaven and earth pass away, but I remain. My word lasts forever. The words that I speak, they are spirit and they are life. Why? Because I am speaking myself. I am saying what I am. In pitch black darkness, I am light. And most people won't be able to see that I am light. Why is Michael concerned? Yesterday, Michael said, there are people who have said, he knows so much. He's always spouting off this gospel, these words, this truth. But look at what he's going through. And right behind it, I hear, look at what Jesus went through. And I start thinking, wow, what, just sitting around teaching Bible, teaching truth, just sitting around always talking like this and thinking like this and acting like this and thinking about how you must look. And you hear a voice say, well, where's all this coming from? Why do you care? Well, I don't care. Yeah, but there's this hanging on you that cares. It keeps wondering, is it ever going to change? It looks up and says, well, you look at guys like Goldsmith, and they were just writing books and teaching Bible classes. But what it's like, look at how muddled up your head is now. Think about the fact that once they realized the consciousness that they were, that doesn't mean that the evil appearances of the world didn't keep hurling themselves at them. They just knew that they had overcome the world. And I think that's where we get a little caught up and we get sidetracked. When I overcome the world, this stuff is going to stop happening to me. No, that's not what's going to happen. When I have overcome the world, I will be able to understand that I don't have to deal with trying to do something about this. What do you mean, when I have overcome the world? I am I. I have overcome the world. I have overcome the world. I just have to keep Michael from rearing his head up and trying to say, you need to do this and you need to do that. I remember back at a church that Kenny and I were members of way back in the day. And we had this pastor, and he used to always say, die, you rascal, die, you rascal. And we would laugh. And then years later, I truly understood what he was talking about after I wasn't involved with metaphysics and mysticism back then. But once I read a Goldsmith book, and I started understanding life, then it dawned on me, die, you rascal. So, yeah, Michael needs to die. Paul said, die daily. Die every day. I said, oh, that's what Goldsmith and them were doing. Joel was dying every day. Lillian DeWaters was dying every day. Those personality cells were dying every day, just like Paul said, so that the I that was their true self could continue to listen, could continue to write, could continue to share, could continue to give. And I'm trying to tell you, like I read, God says, I know your works. Behold, I've set before you an open door which no man can lock, can close. You have a little strength, and yet you have obeyed my word and have not denied my name. Remember, it was God who says, I will write my name in their foreheads. I will walk in them, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. The voice of the stranger they won't follow. They hear my voice. They know me, and they obey me. I show them the path of life, and I shall be filled with the joy of God's countenance, with the pleasure of victory at my right hand. I have entered through the narrow door, the door that I am. For wide is the door and broad is the road which carries to destruction. And there are so many who travel on that road, the road of thinking and how to do this and how to do that. But oh, how narrow is the door, and how difficult is the road which carries to life. It is difficult to Michael, but it is not difficult to I. And few have found it. Few. Of the billions of people who are on the planet, few people stop and say, I am the door. I will wait patiently, for I know that I am justified by faith. That is the only way for me to have peace with God. And as I am patient, I will experience hope. And that hope will make not ashamed. For the love of God is shed abroad in my heart by the Holy Spirit. That is realized consciousness. It is impossible for Michael to have that realized consciousness, for there is no such thing as Michael, the personality, as a reality. But I, which you are and everybody on the planet is, have overcome because I am realized consciousness. Amen. And so it is.